All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're turning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A behavior analyst is attempting to determine why a child frequently throws toys out of their crib before bedtime. They systematically test different conditions, such as attention, escape, and tangible reinforcement, to see which condition leads to the most instances of the toy throwing behavior. What type of assessment is the analyst conducting? That question is very wordy and very long, and people frequently make mistakes when questions are longer or they have a lot of wordiness or a lot of complex ideas in them. What we want to do is we just want to slow down and attack the question, because at first glance, this question may seem challenging, but it's really not. So it's an assessment question to start. So we want to look at, what are we trying to figure out? Well, we know the analyst wants to know why the child throws toys out of the crib. They systematically test different conditions, such as attention, escape, and tangible reinforcement. So they're looking for the function and then trying to see which condition leads to the most instances of toy throwing. Now, immediately, if you look at A, indirect assessment, this is no way indirect because we are looking and manipulating and observing the actual behavior. So we can immediately eliminate A. If we look at B, event recording is essentially just taking frequency, how often something happens. The analyst is not just looking for how often this happens, but the why it happens. So we can eliminate B. If we look at D, an ecological assessment focuses on the environment. So even if we weren't sure that C was the answer, we could easily eliminate A, B, and D. But why is C the answer? Because in a functional analysis, we're one, trying to determine the function of the behavior, and two, actually systematically manipulating antecedents and consequences in different conditions. Since the analyst is going through the process of manipulating conditions and antecedents and consequences, this has to be a C, a functional analysis. Don't get intimidated by longer questions or maybe more technical questions. We want to attack, figure out what information the question is giving you, and then move on to the answer choices. A parent is trying to reduce their child shouting for attention at the dinner table. They teach the child to raise their hand instead and reinforce this behavior by giving the child attention whenever they raise their hand while ignoring shouting. What procedure is being implemented? So we have a procedure question. And what do we know about this procedure? What is occurring? Well, we know the parent wants to reduce shouting for attention. How are they going to do that? Well, now they're going to teach a replacement behavior. They're going to teach the child to raise their hand. As soon as you get a question that shows a parent or a technician or whoever teaching a replacement, immediately let's think differential reinforcement. They're going to reinforce the replacement and then ignore the shouting. So we're reinforcing the alternative behavior and ignoring the old behavior. What procedure does that describe? A, DRA, differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors. This is going to be a DRA. Why? Well, the replacement behavior can occur at the same time as the other behavior. A DRI, a differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors, is just like a DRA, except the replacement and the old behavior can't happen at the same time. The child can raise their hand and shout at the same time. Those are not incompatible. That has to be just an alternative. And then a DRO. A DRO does not teach a replacement behavior, so we can eliminate the DRO. That's the quickest way in a differential reinforcement question to determine, is it a DRO or is it not? If you're teaching a replacement, it's never going to be a differential reinforcement of other behaviors. In this case, the procedure being implemented is going to be a DRA. A technician is teaching a teenager how to prepare a sandwich. They break the task into steps: getting the bread, spreading the condiments, adding the fillings, and placing the top slice of the bread. The caregiver teaches and reinforces each step individually until the teenager can independently make a sandwich. What strategy was used to create the steps? So very carefully, right? We need to read this question. Question wants to know what? It wants to know how were the steps created? What strategy was used to create the steps? Not necessarily how the steps were taught, but how the steps were created. Well, how are any of the steps chosen when we're preparing a task chain? Regardless of what the behavior is, this one is preparing a sandwich. Regardless of what the steps are, bread, condiments, putting a slice of bread on, it doesn't matter because the strategy we use to create the steps in the task chain is always going to be called a task analysis. The task chain is what we're creating using the task analysis. Forward chaining is a type of teaching we use to teach the chain, and backwards chaining as well also is a strategy to teach the chain. Just creating the steps, which is what the question is asking about, is going to be a task analysis. We have to read carefully and have to attack the question first. Never jump right to the answer choices. Understand the question and then approach the answer choices. Throughout a 10-minute session, a behavior technician observes and records whether a child is playing alone using 30-second intervals and whole interval recording. For the first 5 intervals, the following data on playing alone are recorded: 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 25 seconds, 10 seconds. What percentage of intervals would count towards playing alone? So we've got a percentage question and a pretty straightforward percentage question, right? What do we have to figure out? We want to know what percentage of intervals count towards playing alone. Well, we know we have a 10-minute session and the target behavior is child playing alone using 30-second intervals and whole interval recording. So if we have 30-second intervals and we're using whole interval recording, how long does the behavior have to occur to count? Well, it has to happen the whole time. So it has to happen all 30 seconds. So if we have 20 seconds of behavior, does that count? It does not. 30 seconds, it counts the whole time. 30 seconds, it counts the whole time. 25 seconds was partial, doesn't count. 10 seconds was partial, doesn't count. So 2 out of the 5 intervals occurred, or the behavior occurred. What percentage of intervals would count towards playing alone? Well, 2 out of 5 is going to give us 40%. Not that difficult of a question, but it requires a few different types of knowledge. It requires interval recording. It requires specifically whole interval recording. And then it requires you to find a percentage. And that overall percentage is going to be 40%. Through the use of extinction and reinforcement as part of a differential reinforcement procedure, which of the following skills can be taught? This question is just asking, using differential reinforcement, what can we teach? Can we teach A, stimulus discrimination? Sure. If I have a square and a circle, and I reinforce you for touching the circle and put the square on extinction, what am I going to teach you? Well, I'm going to teach you to discriminate between circle and, or square and circle. What about response differentiation? Well, if I have a square and a circle, and I tell you to point to the circle, and then I tell you to move the circle, and I only reinforce you when you do the right response. So when you point when I say point, or move when I say move, then I'm teaching you to differentiate your responses. And then functional communication. If I ask you to request a snack, but I'm only reinforcing you if you use functional communication and put everything else on extinction, I'm using differential reinforcement to teach C, functional communication. So through the use of extinction and reinforcement as part of differential reinforcement, I can teach stimulus discrimination, response differentiation, and functional communication. So our answer here is D, all the above. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Like and subscribe for all our videos. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.